take a minute to just ask you to hug your son or other family members, as Michigan State has had a traumatic happening in this week. And so it's just very near and dear to my heart. But on the other side of this, we're very fortunate to have David Norday and Rick Harrison with us. David Norday is an Alpha Phi Alpha, so he is a member of the fraternity and sorority life community who works in his 12th year as an assistant director in the Michigan State University Office of Financial Aid. So he will give us a lowdown on the FAFSA. So with that, being able to help with either if you are having a first year going into the second year or looking beyond, because we know that all of our students are here now. So some tips and things to think and deadlines to watch for. And then Rick Harrison, who is our Senior Director of Development for the College of Arts and Sciences at, what I have to say, The Ohio State University in Columbus. He is our National Scholarship Chair, and he's going to give an overview of the scholarships that are available for our brothers. There is a lot of money that is available, but not a lot of applications. So he's going to ask for you to help spread the word. So that's sort of the overview for this evening. We're really looking at gift aid so that our students can be successful and have one less thing to worry about for the upcoming year or years. So with that, I will turn it over to our FAFSA expert and gift aid expert, David Norday. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, David.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Greetings, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go ahead and begin with our presentation. I hope everybody can see this as well. So yeah, we're going to talk about financing your education. I have some tips with you guys. I hope you have something to bring write notes with. There's a lot of new opportunities out there that I will like to cover, but let's go ahead and begin with some foundational stuff, okay? So the first things first, whether you have a current student in college or you have somebody that will be going to college in the fall, it always starts with the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. This is the first application that you may want to apply for every year. It is the federal application for federal aid, and I want to note the first F in FAFSA is free. You're not supposed to pay for it. It is available October 1 every year. So if you have an incoming student or a current student, the FAFSA for next year is available. Okay. We're going to go over some things that you would need to, of course, to cover, but you can always go to their website on studentaid.gov to review all federal aid programs that they offer. And some families feel that they shouldn't do it because maybe they think they earn too much or their child or student can't get it, but it's a good thing to file every year because there is some scholarships and grants that do require a FAFSA to be filed. So let's go ahead and go down some information about the FAFSA real quick. You go to studentaid.gov to file it out, or you can still go to FAFSA.gov. It's available October 1, and it goes based off of a prior year system, meaning that whatever information it requests financially, it's from 2 years prior to that year that your student will be attending college. Okay, so you want to mark your calendars to renew your FAFSA every year around that time. Okay. The first thing you will need for all the newcomers to FAFSA is you have to file your FSA ID, which is your federal student aid ID. It's a username and password where it allows you to not only just file the FAFSA, but file any type of federal forms required for loans. And also allows you to renew your FAFSA every year as well. You can track loan history, etc. All you need is a social security number or an I-10 number, along with your date of birth and name. What would you need to file it? Of course, you will need, of course, your financial information, your social security number. It will ask for some biographical information, such as birthday, where you're from, etc. And that determines whether you're an in-state or out-of-state student. In most cases, you will need, of course, your tax documents, your W-2s, your 1099s, any financial statement that you use to file your taxes, and untaxed information such as child support, alimony, retirement, saving account payments, etc. All the stuff that will be required so you can accurately fill out your FAFSA. You can also ask the IRS to fill in the FAFSA for you. Where you can do that by the IRS data retrieval, which is a tool that most schools will recommend you to use, and it's very easy if you qualify. And of course, you will need you and the student will need an FSA ID in order to file it successfully. This is how you sign the FAFSA electronically. Okay, so the student will need one, and then you would need one separately. I highly encourage you have your student be present when you fill it out. It gives them experience, and you can also check for errors, etc., and things like that. Okay. Now, when it comes to financial aid, we have to talk about cost, right? At the end of the day, it's based off of the depth of the program, the institution that your student wants to go to, and then how much it costs. There is no surprises in this. Any school, institution, college, university that receives federal financial aid by law has to have a net price calculator. Okay. Now, let's talk about two major factors here, which is our cost versus net price. And this is for every school that you may be applying for or renewing your attendance in. Cost of attendance is, of course, the budget. It is the budget for that particular school. It varies from school to school. It handles direct and indirect cost. And then, but the net price is pretty much after all scholarships and grants have been applied, what is the bottom line? Okay. So whether you are attending in-state, out-of-state, private or public or community college, you always want to see what is the annual cost for that school so you can, make your comparison and make the right decision. Okay, it varies from school to school, and of course, if they're receiving federal aid, you will have to visit. I highly recommend visiting their financial aid site on that university's page so that you can see what that cost is. The net price calculator is usually something that you easily just put in your general information, general annual income, and it spits out an estimated financial aid award and bill. Okay. So when it comes to the cost of attendance or budget, we call it a COA. It really knocks down these major factors: tuition, fees, room and board, books, etc. The reason why I want to cover this is because these are the expenses that we really should be focused on when we do our scholarship searching. Okay, when we're applying for aid, when we're putting our applications, we want to make sure we apply for enough aid that can cover these major expenses. I've had so far in my career 5 students who was able to be fully funded without any loans because they did the necessary planning and they knew where to look. Okay, and some of these things we're going to cover during this presentation. So when it comes to type of financial aid, this sets some things clear. It includes grants, scholarships, work study, and loans. Okay, we have grants and scholarships. They're considered gift aid. And you have self-help aid, which is your work study and your loans. Anybody who files a FAFSA is entitled to loan. It doesn't mean you have to take it nor accept it, but it's just part of the financial aid process. Okay. Gift aid is the free money. Gift aid is the free money that we love. Who loves free money? We all love free money, money that you do not have to pay back. Okay. In any school, once you get a scholarship or a grant, it is automatically accepted. You already did the work to obtain it. It goes directly onto your bill. And usually they're split equally between 2 semesters unless the scholarship says otherwise. We get checks here in Michigan State, they'll say fall only, spring only, etc. So like again, this is money you do not have to pay back. Okay, if we look at the diagram real quick, we talk about scholarships. They usually require some type of talent, merit, or some type of application. And they may be renewable. So you definitely want to read the application, the terms and conditions of the award, just to make sure you're doing the proper planning, because some scholarships can be for 1 year, some scholarships can be for multi-year. Okay, and I will give you my secret formula of how to find scholarships in just a moment. Okay, when it comes to grants usually require a FAFSA in most cases, not all, but in most cases. And a lot of it has to be renewed every year. Not only that, you have to consider your students' performance in order for them to still qualify for a lot of these aid programs. Okay, so they may have terms and conditions of what makes them eligible. It could be being full-time. It could be maintaining a satisfactory academic progress, meaning they have a decent GPA. They're not withdrawing every year. They're progressing in their degree program. Okay, and a lot of these could be offered by your financial aid office. Okay, so when it comes to scholarships, let's go ahead and talk about that. Okay. As it says in the slide, I always recommend students to look locally first and expand your search outwards. Why do I say that? The reason why I say that is because the probability of you getting something within your local community is much higher than the World Wide Web. Okay, let's just consider that for a moment. And so here are just some major things, some major places that you can search. Right now, you can Google them. You can look them up on some financial aid websites may attain them, whether you are in the state of Michigan or not. Most states have some type of community foundation. A lot of these foundations are one-stop shops for local scholarships. So visit their website. They usually are divided by county or multi-city area or metropolitan area. Just for example, here in the state of Michigan, every county is part of a community foundation. I know several other states have the same type of setup. So I want you to encourage you to really research what is the community foundation that is servicing your area. A lot of it will require like, what high school did you attend? What college are you attending? What county do you live in, etc. Right? Some may require an essay or some more information. You can go to your local town halls. Depending on the city or town that you live in, sometimes your local city government will have some type of application bulletin board or some type of website where you can apply for additional scholarships. Local clubs and lodges. Now, rather you or if your student is not affiliated, there are several organizations that raise money to give your student money. Okay, this could be your local Lions Club. This can be an alumni foundation. It can be an alumni chapter of a fraternity and sorority. Just for example, I know my fraternity gives scholarships yearly, but you want to look at the local alumni chapter for that. But you also want to see like your local Boys and Girls Club. I had one student who had like 5 scholarships she was from the Cleveland area. She received some from that organization. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, okay. Places of worship. Sometimes your church, mosque, or temple may offer a scholarship. And when it comes to any type of gift aid, if they write a check, we would gladly receive it and put it on the student's account. You can also talk to your high school counselor. Okay, I don't know if I have any high school counselors on this chat, but I definitely would say, reach out to them to see what resources are available. Okay, and so in addition, alumni associations for the university that you're looking into. You can see some of them are local, some are national, but you want to see what is available there. Local businesses and libraries. So when it comes to that, it could be a law office, it could be a local business, it could be a fast food restaurant, it could be multiple places. But the thing is, Google can be your friend in this, but I would put a disclaimer to watch out for scams. Okay, you are not supposed to give your social to anybody but the federal government, nor are you supposed to pay for anything. Like I said, the first F in FAFSA is free. And when it comes to scholarships and grants, it should be free money. You can also look into your parents' occupation. Here's an example. For example, I know that some parents who work for like a retail store, they may be part of a organization that may offer a scholarship. One that comes to mind is like the Michigan Retailers Association. If you work in automotive, like General Motors have a scholarship. My parents were educators. Both of them were high school principals. Well, one was a high school principal, one was a math administrator. And my mother herself, she was part of the Michigan Council for Teachers of Mathematics, and they offered a $1,000 scholarship. So sometimes you could look within your parents or the parents' place of business to see if there's any affiliation to any type of educational funding available. Some can also be tuition reimbursement. Okay, not only that, and usually when a student visits my office, I have a whiteboard and I start writing all these out. Like even the places you eat may offer a scholarship. Okay, Taco Bell has a tuition reimbursement program. Burger King, we get a lot of need-based grants from Burger King for some of our students here in Michigan State. Not only that, you can also look into other organizations and businesses. Or here's a good thing, check the library. Okay, there is a saying, if you want to hide something, put it in a book. If your local branch does not have actual scholarship applications, you can definitely look into scholarship books that they provide. They're the size of dictionaries, very thick with vetted scholarships that's available for you and your student to apply for. Okay, here is the formula that I want all you guys to write down. I want you to find out the yearly budget of the school that your students plan to attend. See how much it will cost to go there with no loans. You can do that with their financial aid award if they already applied for FAFSA. They already have been admitted into university. You can also use the net price calculator that school provides. In that, you can calculate, see how much it will cost to go there with no loans. Take that number, times it by 2, and that should be your target every year to apply for additional scholarships. Okay, scholarships is more than just paying for your tuition bill. It goes to also your personal expenses. It goes to your travel. It goes towards buying your books in addition. Okay, so I just want to keep that in mind. There's also work study and whatnot. So that's my little formula that I encourage everybody to use as they do their scholarship searching. Check out to see if the scholarship is renewable. Okay, and I'm talking both locally and nationally. Okay, look within your bloodline to see what's there. Okay, there are scholarships for Irish American, Italian American, African American, those of Latin descent, etc. There's other larger organizations like Daughters of the Revolution, the Red Hat Ladies, etc. Whatever you are affiliated with or not affiliated with, you want to see what is available. Scholarships based off of hobby, scholarships based off of, like, for instance, if your student played in these sports, there are athletic scholarships, and I'm not talking about the ones you get from the school directly, even though that is something to look in, but also scholarships based on just because you was an athlete in high school or you play a sport. And if you do that, whether you are an athlete or not, there are scholarships based off of character, leadership. Okay. Your students' involvement in the environment, etc. There's even religious-based scholarships based on what you believe or do not believe. So definitely check into those opportunities. And yes, there is a scholarship for being 6 foot tall. I am left-handed, proud to say it. And luckily, the left-handed scholarship was not for my school, but I do have a colleague who went to Michigan State who did get a left-hand scholarship to attend Michigan State, so that was great. And of course, there's the duct tape scholarship, okay? But there's also scholarships based off of merit, getting a high GPA. We're talking 3.5 and above, okay? In some cases, 3.0 and above. Having high test scores in the ACT or SAT or whatever is the standard testing for that institution. You want to look into those opportunities as well. In your scholarship searching. Now, I'm talking about something that it should be habitual. This is something that you're going to be dedicated to do every year, and especially if you have siblings, sharing with those siblings. My wife was able to attend Western Michigan University for 4 years with no loans because she had enough scholarships to fund her education. A lot of those came from the school, right? But also came from her local community. She's from Muskegon. She got a scholarship from Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And this is the major kicker. It was for men only. The reason why she obtained is because she was the only one that applied. So even if you feel that, oh, I could get this scholarship, but there might be one disclaimer, it doesn't hurt to put that application in anyway, because people have to apply for it, and the organization wants to help students. They actually want to help to fund your education, but if nobody else is applying, they may give it to you. Okay, if they require, say, a 3.5, but you have a 3.4, I would encourage you to apply for it anyway, because if there's any more funding that they may have, they may give it. You might be the next person on the list. That's what I'm saying, right? Let's talk about work study. So my parents, when they was in college, they used work study, and they will say this helped fund their education. Work study is a federal program which the student has to get a job on campus. They will work the hours accordingly and will be paid accordingly to a certain rate of pay. But the source of the check is coming from the university and the federal government combined. The way that now every school awards work study differently, okay? But if your student is offered work study, and on the FAFSA does have a selector where you can say, I want work study, whether you say it or not, it is up to the school because it's a campus-based fund. If they work that job, the money that they earn from the work study program will not be counted against them on their FAFSA 2 years from that time, since it's a prior year. Again, I will say this again, if they get a work study job, any income they earn from that job would not count against them because it's work study. And there's a question on the FAFSA that will ask them that. So they'll say how much is from work, and then later on in the application, they'll say how much of this was from a need-based work program such as work study. And so you put that money there, but it's also intended to help you pay bills. It helps you get relative work experience. So I definitely encourage you, if you do work study, get a job that's relative to your degree of study. And then of course, based on labor laws, you have to work a certain amount of hours. You can't exceed over a certain amount of hours when you do that. We have found that students who do work while they're in college tend to do better in the classroom because it helps them manage time. Okay. I'm briefly going to talk about loans because that is part of the financial aid process. There are federal loans and there are private loans. Federal loans are awarded through the FAFSA or eligible by filling out a FAFSA. The interest rates vary year to year, and there's different types that your student could qualify for based off of their FAFSA information. Okay. Some parents say, I don't want to file the FAFSA, that's the only thing I get is loans. But there's one thing that I do want to remind parents is that your state may have certain grant opportunities that your student could be awarded, but it does require a FAFSA to be filed. Okay, but loans is money that you have to pay back. Most loan companies will have some type of deferment period, which could be up to 6 months after you graduate or leave school or drop out of school. So you can take a look at that, and there's a lot of information out there on the institution's website and on this presentation as well, as what's required. So just by filing a FAFSA, there is of course subsidized, unsubsidized loans. They do require they do have a 6-month deferment period, meaning that you are not required to pay anything until 6 months after you graduate or leave school. Some are need-based, but the amount is always solid. For example, first-year students get $5,500 if they're a dependent student. Okay, and with that being said, the FAFSA will determine how much of that $5,500 can be subsidized, meaning no interest will touch that loan while your student is in school. Okay. We do have some information, and there's also a Parent Plus loan, which a parent applies for the student on the federal website, which is studentaid.gov. It is the parent's loan, the parent's responsibility to pay back, but it will pay on the student's account. And there's no, there's no set limit. The limit is the remainder of the student's budget or cost of attendance. Okay. The same with a private loan. Private loan is a loan that it doesn't have a set limit. It may go up to the student's budget, but it's in the student's name, student's responsibility to pay back. Okay. It usually requires a cosigner. It is strongly credit-based and is based off of current market rates. So that's something that you have to research, of course, and find the best loan that finds their needs. Most terms and conditions are subject to the lender. When it comes to other things, there's savings. Some of us have 529 plans, which is college savings plans. And this is something that you have been filling up since they was born or when they started going to school, and now they're in college, and now you can tell the administrator of that account, hey, my student is going to Michigan State or the Ohio State University, and then it will start to pay out to that student's account. Okay, it is part of financing education. It may not be considered financial aid, but it is a viable resource to help lower a lot of the cost for that student. And then there's student employment, there's work study, and then there's also just the students getting a job anywhere and paying for their books. I have included some websites that you can use to help you find your some scholarships. Of course, FastWeb is a very popular one. It does provide a lot of email, but I do want to put that out there as well. There's several other scholarship searching sites, but I would highly encourage you to, if it sounds sketchy, it probably is. Okay. And if you have any questions, you can call your local financial aid office at your local university to see, is this really legit, and we can help you with that. Okay. Couple reminders, just look at your community foundation, local community foundations, your local business, and the school that you're planning to attend. For an example, in Michigan State, we have an institutional scholarship list or database that that any student can apply for if they have the proper login credentials. And this is something that you and the parent can look over every year. A lot of schools receive a certain amount of donor assistance, people who want to give scholarships. So I would highly encourage you and your students to definitely look at that. I do want the student to have some responsibility in the game, because realistically, the bill is in the student's name. So I like to tell parents as a joke, don't worry about it, you don't have to pay anything. It's in his name. Okay. So, but that's something that we have to look at prior. Okay. And do the proper planning. Please be mindful of the current partnerships that goes into funding the education. Of course, there's the institution, there's the government. Now, I know for the state of Michigan, there are new awarding opportunities, grants, and scholarships and fellowships available now that the government has signed off. If you are out of state, I will highly see what your state offers. A lot of those state aid programs tend to go to their local colleges and universities there. So look into that, of course. Of course, the student can save money to go towards their books and have some type of skin in the game. And of course, the family. Sometimes, family helps out a lot. I know my family did for paying my tuition, but there was also some scholarships I was awarded based off of various things that I participated in. So I definitely encourage that as well. Now, let's talk about life just for a real quick second, and I'm gonna sit down. Professional judgment. Most schools have this, or they may call it a special conditions application or a professional judgment application. But your FAFSA only, like if you just filed your FAFSA reflects what happened 2 years ago. Okay, that was during the pandemic. That was during a lot of change, or when real life happens, like change of income, one-time financial gain, whether you got bonuses, hit the lottery, if you got the Powerball, things of that nature. If you had a death of parent, death of a spouse, significant, I'm talking really significant medical and dental expenses that you pay out of pocket, or any COVID-19 related circumstance, you can definitely reach out to the institution that your student is applying for and attending to see what is their process, so that FAFSA can better reflect the current situation of the household. Okay. And naturally, if you have any questions regarding anything that I provided, this is our contact information here. You can always give us a call. I'm right above Dr. Allen, literally. But if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
David, thank you so much for all of that really helpful information, and hopefully the families will be able to do that. We will ask if you could put questions into the chat for now. We'll have Rick present, and then we will open it up for questions as well. So again, David, thank you so much. We're going to narrow it down a little bit. As David gave you the federal landscape, we're going to bring it to the Phi Kappa landscape. And Rick Harrison is our National Scholarship Advisor. And I will turn it over to Rick to talk about Phi Kappa scholarships and how to obtain funding for your students.
Thank you, Alan. And great job, David. I'm the person on the end of things where I work with donors to raise money to match their passion with opportunity. And so I'm out there talking with alumni to make gifts for immediate need and endowed scholarships, and people in David's office and they're like around the country do a magnificent job trying to assist students to the greatest of their ability. As Alan mentioned, my name's Rick Harrison. I was initiated into Phi Kappa Tau at Ohio University in 1979. As was mentioned, I currently work at the Ohio State University in the development area. In the 40 years since I've graduated, I've been involved with the National Fraternity as a staff member, a national counselor, regional director, and have worked as an advisor to our chapters at Ohio State University and at Ohio University. But one of the other roles I serve as the chair of the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation Scholarship Committee, along with 9 other individuals who are tasked with helping to provide scholarships to our members. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation and where they came from and what they do. We as a national fraternity were founded in 1906. And in 1945, as World War II came to a close, some people with some great foresight. I mentioned the fact that over 8,000 Phi Taus had served in World War II. They knew that a lot of men were be coming back from the war and that the advent of the GI Bill would create pathways of opportunities for those veterans to seek higher education. And so we knew as a national fraternity, we wanted to be prepared to best serve our members in a variety of ways. And so they founded the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation, which is a 501c3 organization, which means that gifts made to the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation are tax deductible. And the purpose is really to ensure that we're providing the kind of financial philanthropic support to sustain the kind of levels of education programming that our fraternity espouses. I want to mention a significant moment in the life of our foundation. An individual by the name of Ewing Boles, who was a member of our Center College in Danville, Kentucky, which was our 4th oldest chapter, who was a national leader within our fraternity and an investment banker who served for 30 years as president of the Ohio Company, was at our convention in Gulfport, Mississippi. I happened to be in attendance at that convention. And if any of you have been in southern Mississippi in the summer, it's extremely warm. And air conditioning in the room we were in was not operating very well. So like all young men, we removed our suit jackets. And Mr. Boles got up to the podium and said, "Gentlemen, do not remove their jackets," and watched 200 people sheepishly putting their coats back on. But then he raised his arm in the air and announced that he was going to be making a challenge gift of $1 million, which at the time was the largest gift ever given to a college fraternity, a sorority foundation, up until that point in time. And upon his death, he gifted an additional $3 million in his estate to the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation. That was a transformational moment for the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation, as it helped us complete a very successful $4.5 million campaign, prompted by his challenge gift, and really helped the fraternity be able to invest more money into leadership and educational programming than we ever have before. I mentioned the gift of $1 million, but that's made up also of gifts of $25, $50, $100 for members all across the country. The Phi Kappa Tau Foundation supports a variety of programs that really impact your sons in a variety of ways by providing opportunities on a national level, a regional level, and a chapter level to gain leadership education. And the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation helps to supplement a lot of those costs, whether they're our national convention, the President's Academy for all the leaders of our chapters, a volunteer development institute for alumni advisors, board of governors members, and House Corporation members, our award-winning Leadership Academy, which is a concentrated program which not only helps individuals learn their own leadership skills and strengths, but are able to help them improve their chapter. There are one-day regional conferences where a number of chapters in a region will come together with facilitators to work on leadership training. And then we do chapter level programming, Building Men of Character, and Good to Great, which is based on a novel by Jim Collins, Good to Great, which talked about taking good companies and making them great. We brought that down to a chapter kind of level. A lot of assessment, a lot of self-evaluation, goal setting. And the foundation also supports national community service events and helps to certify the alumni that are helping to provide oversight to our chapters. Our foundation also supports and is committed to supporting service support. In 1995, the National Council of the Phi Kappa Tau Fraternity adopted philanthropy that was started by an alumnus of Ohio University, Paul Newman, who at the time had started an organization called the Hole in the Wall Gang Camps. It's since become known as the Serious Fund Network, which provides summer and year-round summer camp experiences for children with serious diseases that allow them to have some fun. Because we encourage our members to be involved by raising money on a chapter level, but also volunteering, the foundation provides a stipend to an undergraduate who has volunteered and is committed to volunteering again. And we also will provide $300 stipends to individuals to help cover travel costs involved with their volunteer experience. The foundation provides 2 scholarships annually to undergraduates who participate in a program sponsored by the North American Interfraternity Conference called UIFI. And that's a 5-day hands-on leadership clinic that trains those undergraduates to be able to go back to their chapters and to their college campuses to pass along the skills that they learned. We also have a program through the foundation called Chapter Educational Grants, which are specific to chapters. So alumni oftentimes will make a donation to the chapter educational grant for their chapter. That money can't be used for any national programming costs or for the general endowment or fraternity, but is used for the chapter. And those chapter educational grants can provide scholarships, incentives, and grants for the leadership programs that I just mentioned, as well as national leadership programs like UIFI and Leadership. But chapters are also able to utilize them in some unique ways. I mentioned working with our chapter here at Ohio State. They've used their CEG fund to purchase Starbucks gift cards for all members of the chapter who achieve a certain GPA or above. They also used to purchase software where brothers are able to log in their study hours and where they're studying so they can track that and stay on top of brothers, especially if they're facing some academic challenges. So really the sky's the limit as long as it's devoted to leadership or academic enhancement. Many of our chapters have CEG funds that are operated through the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation. And many alumni, parents, and friends have also set up scholarships specific to individual chapters that are housed at the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation. And the foundation also allows chapters that are doing renovation or building a new chapter house to direct donations through the foundation at a certain percentage, and those monies are used to enhance study rooms, libraries, provide better lighting, desks and rooms, anything again which enhances the chapter house to ensure that there's an environment conducive to good scholarship. So I mentioned all that background leading up to the scholarships that the fraternity sponsors, only because it's important to know that we not only invest in academic individual scholarships, but we invest in leadership development in a variety of avenues and ways. And so I encourage you to encourage your sons to look for those kind of leadership opportunities, because at the end of the day, it's not only your GPA and the degree you receive, but it's how you're able to tell future employers for internships or jobs on how you availed yourself of not only in-classroom activities, but out-of-classroom activities. Each year, the Phi Kappa Tau Foundation provides 20 or more individual scholarships that have been funded, and I'll run through those and tell you a little bit about the process that we operate to provide those to our members. We have a Greg Holland Scholarship, which is awarded through the generosity of our past national president, Greg Holland. That's a $1,500 scholarship. We have 6 4,500 scholarships that were donated by an alumnus who's since passed away, Paul Elfers. One of those goes to outstanding chapter treasurer. We have Parents Fund scholarships. These are scholarships that have been funded by parents of members, and they can go to either undergraduate or graduate student. And we usually award 2 or more of those annually. And I'll back up for a minute and mention that the scholarships we offer are not only available to undergraduates, but they're also available to individuals who are pursuing advanced degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, professional programs, law degrees. And so they're not only eligible for current undergraduates, but also for people who've graduated or gotten their undergraduate degree and are moving on for advanced work. We have the Thomas Cunningham Memorial Scholarship. This is specific to individuals who are currently working or used to work at our national fraternity headquarters. A new scholarship this year is a Ian Pape Memorial Epsilon Beta Chapter Award. Unfortunately, our chapter at West Virginia Tech closed, but with the assets of that chapter, as well as donations from members and alumni, in memory of one of their initiates who passed away all too young, there's now a $1,000 scholarship, which was awarded annually to a member of our fraternity. And then we have, thanks to the generosity of benefactors through the years, 10 named endowed scholarships that are currently $1,250 a piece. And those need to go to members who are returning to school the next year as an undergraduate or graduate student. We also have some other awards. The John Hayes Scholarship is a relatively new scholarship. It goes to an individual that maintains a 3.0 or above GPA, with preference giving to members who are honorably discharged veterans of U.S. Armed Forces, first responders, or whose parents have served in the armed forces or as first responders. And then I mentioned previously 2 scholarships specific to service. Another relatively new scholarship, which was established by an alumnus from our Colorado State chapter, Mike Rosser, is at least a minimum of $500 scholarship to help cover expenses for individuals that volunteer at one of our Serious Fund Children Networks camps. The process for your sons to apply for these scholarships has come a long way from the old days when it was paper and pen. We now have an online portal called Smarter Select. The information is on all of our national websites, right on the front page. And if they click that, they're taken directly to this page where in the first part of the application process, they tell us a little bit about them, which then identifies what scholarships that they will be available to apply for. And it's a really relatively easy process. It's composed of both fill-in areas where, if for example, on the page you're looking at, they list internships, research, study abroad, any teaching assistantships or other relevant positions they've had. Pull down menus where they identify what leadership programs they may have been involved in. So there's very little that has to be written. A lot of it is pull down, check box to collect the information we need to make the best decisions. We look at these following elements in coming up with the list of recommendations to our foundation. We look at GPA, their cumulative and previous semester GPA. We, if they're applying, also asking us to take into consideration financial need. All the explanation that David just gave about FAFSA is important because we ask for an FSA ID number. We look for leadership not only within the fraternity, but outside the fraternity. If they're an alumnus, have they been involved as an advisor or a house corporation member? Have they been a member of one of our associate chapters, which used to be called colonies, which are new startup groups moving towards chartering, because we know that takes extra work. I mentioned already internships, study abroad, teaching assistants. Campus and community involvement or leadership in organizations outside of Phi Kappa Tau is taken into consideration. And because we as a fraternity value community service, we also want to know what kind of community service you may have done outside of our national philanthropy, which is the next component. Have you been involved in any way in fundraising or volunteering for a Serious Fund Network camp? We ask them to provide a resume, a copy of their transcript, and their current semester schedule. And then we ask for one letter of recommendation. Individuals don't need to have something in every one of those categories, but of course, we try to look at it holistically, placing a lot of emphasis, of course, on GPA, academic standing, financial need. We do require an essay for all scholarships, regardless of what scholarship you're going for. And that's asking them 500-word limit to tell us a little bit about how they live up to our mission and our creed in their own words. And if they're applying for financial need purposes, to describe to us their financial or their family's financial situation and how it's affecting their ability to complete their degree. If they're applying for the Alphas Omega Scholarship, there's an additional essay requirement. This was donor-based. Mr. Elfers wanted this to be a part of the process. And so there's an additional essay they'd have to write, again, 500-word limit, talking about their belief in the capitalist system and whether the society's private sector should capture the results of individual achievement. The deadline for this is March 1st, and I know we're later in the month of February, but there's still 2 full weeks. And I think if they haven't already started an application process, they certainly have enough time. The application is not that cumbersome. I would recommend, if you talk to them about whether they've explored this, that one of the first things they do is reach out to somebody to write a letter of reference, because a lot of faculty members or advisors or others need a little bit of time in order to do that, and also to be sure that they have access to their transcript and other information. Like I said, I work with a group of 9 other individuals who represent a variety of chapters from all areas of the country. 2 members actually live internationally who are involved in this process. And we take great joy in reading these incredible applications to see what our members are up to see that what they're achieving academically and otherwise, with the hope and the goal to be able to provide them with some assistance. Now, I know that the average cost of for in-state tuition for a public institution these days for a cost of attendance is around $25,000. Maybe double or triple that if you're attending a public institution from out of state. And if you're going to a private, the average might be around $54,000. But it's all of our goals to ensure access, affordability, and that joining the Phi Kappa Tau fraternity is not going to be a detriment. And we will continue to make a case to our alumni and to the foundation to continue to build up the amount of scholarships that we're able to award, not only dollar-wise, but the number that we're able to give. So I know we wanted to give a little bit of time at the end for questions if folks have them, but that's a quick overview. And I'm sure that the facilitators will be able to provide a copy of both David and I's PowerPoint to you after this, because I know we fit in a lot in a short amount of time. But I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you about the foundation and how we're trying to enhance the experience of your sons in Phi Kappa Tau.
Rick, thank you for such a thorough explanation of basically free funding through the fraternity as long as they complete the application completely and help us move forward. So as Logan said, if you could have questions in the chat, or if you want, unmic yourself, or if you want to raise your hand, but you need to turn on a picture for that part. So if you're on mic, we can we can ask you to ask your question. First question, my son is currently a college freshman. Can the letter of recommendation be from the student's high school dean of students, or does it need to be one of his college professors? Rick, I think that's for you.
Sure. It can be from anyone. It doesn't have to be from a faculty member. Oftentimes members ask their chapter advisor. Sometimes members have asked their peers a chapter officer or someone who knows them well. So yes, it can be from a high school teacher, counselor, anyone who can really just speak to why this person is deserving.
Thank you, Rick, for that. Any other questions that we could answer? When are scholarships awarded?
The deadline is the 1st of March. And the process usually takes us about a month to review those applications. We then make a recommendation to the full Phi Kappa Tau Foundation Board of Trustees. And we try to have this pinned down before the end of spring semester. So that you're able to factor that into all the things David talked about in terms of other forms of assistance to know walking into the next academic year if you'll have these funds.
Thank you.
I guess also, if I may, in addition to that, when it comes to any other scholarship that any other student may be applying for, please be mindful of the deadline. Most scholarship applications begin near the end of the company or donor's fiscal year, which is usually around November, December, January. And so most applications open up at that time. Most deadlines are like March, April, May. They may go later into the summer, even the fall possibly, but the bulk are usually in the beginning of the year. So definitely pay attention to deadlines.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Because we really do want to make sure that we can cover gift aid and especially Phi Tau aid. If not, I know that it's 8:55. I think it's Thursday. Oh, here we go. Are funds sent to the member or directly to the institution?
We send the checks directly to the institution, and I don't know if there are allowances otherwise, but we typically ask for the information for the financial aid for the Davids for their respective institutions, and David can probably address this. But if it's over the amount of aid they may already be getting to, is there still such a thing as overage where it comes back to the individual?
It really depends. So there are aid. You know, the budget of the school is the legal limit of how much aid a student can receive. So just be mindful of that. There is an order of operations when it comes to reducing of a certain fund. It usually starts with the loans first and then goes up accordingly. So just be mindful of that.
Thank you. These are great questions to help clarify. So if you should have other questions, please forward to David if they're in general about financial aid, specifically for Phi Tau scholarships and aid. That would be Rick Harrison. Logan will be posting both the PowerPoints and a YouTube video of tonight, so you get to see my face again if you would like to. But with that, I truly want to thank you all for coming and helping us be able to spread the word to the members of Phi Kappa Tau. I want to thank David Norday for giving up a Thursday evening to another group of men of distinction, and to thank Rick Harrison for being able to do that. And as always, Logan is the person who keeps everything moving behind the scenes, and we truly appreciate him for being able to do that. So thank you all for being with us tonight.
Alan?
Yes.
If I can jump in with a point of order, because I think I join everyone on this call in surrounding you and David with a lot of love. It's been a horrible week at Michigan State, and I know you're there for your students. So thank you for being on this call tonight, because I know it's been a rough week and it will be rough going forward. That's coming from the Ohio State University.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I can speak for David that we both truly appreciate it. And we will come back stronger and do the best that we can. So thank you for that. We feel it. We appreciate it. So thank you all and have a great night. And again, if you have questions, please let us know. But let's go get that aid. So thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.